Friends, we can all see that many white bloggers have millions of followers. Please support me too, because my followers are still few. Black bloggers also deserve to be famous. Raised fist medium dark skin tone. My friends, let's unite and lift each other up. Please press subscribe button and like. The Unseen, a detective professor and the dog who bridged two worlds. Detective Leah Vance, 34 and hardened by a decade on the Vidian police force, believed she knew the city's pulse. She knew that real danger wasn't cloaked in ancient myths, but in the brutal reality of dark alleys, smoky bars, and broken homes. One tempestuous night, however, would shatter her certainty and redefine her world. The rain fell in sheets, transforming the streets into slick, distorting mirrors. Leah pulled her jacket tighter, scanning the empty storefronts until her gaze snagged on a thin figure hunched beneath the awning of an abandoned bookstore. A man in worn clothes, a loyal brown dog, asterisk, a bridge between his world and hers, pressed against him. Cautious, she approached. Evening. Everything okay here? The man looked up. Despite his weathered face, his eyes were startlingly sharp. Waiting out the rain. Officer. Name's Arthur, and this is Barnaby. The dog blinked drowsily at his name. Their brief exchange was violently interrupted. Barnaby suddenly let out a low, guttural growl. Arthur tensed. "Don't move," he whispered. "Behind the van, asterisk, gun." Leah's heart seized. She spotted the crouching figure, the unmistakable glint of a pistol. Before she could react, Arthur shoved her hard. A shot rang out. Leah hit the pavement, then fired warning rounds. The assailant, shocked, dropped his weapon and surrendered. Backup swarmed the scene, cuffing the fugitive. When the danger passed, Leah rushed back to Arthur. He was miraculously unharmed. "Why risk your life?" she demanded. Arthur's reply was simple, yet profound. "Because you treated me with respect. That's rare." His words lodged deep in her mind. Hashtag the unseen story. Days later, Leah found herself drawn back to Park. She spotted Arthur again, sharing a meager sandwich with Barnaby. They talked for hours. Arthur confessed he had once been a brilliant history professor, his life unraveling into grief and alcoholism after his wife's death, until the streets became his solitary home. Barnaby, injured and abandoned, had appeared one cold winter night and never left. "People stopped seeing you," Arthur murmured. "You become invisible. But you saw me that night." Leah felt a quiet shame. How many times had she walked past men like him? Yet here he was, quoting history with eloquence, his intellect and spirit intact despite everything. Their unusual friendship blossomed. She brought him food, blankets, and books. He, in turn, filled a journal she gifted him with raw, moving reflections on compassion and dignity. She urged him to publish. But he only laughed. "Why do you keep coming back?" he asked once. "Because you became my friend," Leah answered. Barnaby, the silent sentinel, was always there, a comforting link between their disparate worlds. When Leah took Arthur to a diner, he shrank under the stares of strangers, but she held her head high. Asterisk let them look. "You belong here." Asterisk. Hashtag the rescue and the rebirth. Then came the urgent call that shook the city. A girl named Sophie had vanished from a park. Leah rushed off duty to join the frantic search. A scene of chaos, weeping mothers, and uniform confusion. And then she spotted Arthur at the edge of the crowd, Barnaby at his feet. "I need your help," she said breathlessly. "A child is missing." Arthur didn't hesitate. He showed Sophie's photo to Barnaby. The dog sniffed, lifted his head, and padded purposefully away from the main search party. "He's got the scent," Arthur said. They followed the dog through winding side streets until Barnaby stopped at an abandoned playground, pawing at a small, rickety playhouse. Inside, they found Sophie tear-streaked but safe. Barnaby approached gently, tail wagging, and the girl instantly reached out, comforted by his presence. Arthur coaxed her out, weaving light-hearted stories until she actually laughed. When they brought Sophie back, her mother clung to her, sobbing tears of relief. "How did you find her?" she asked. Leah pointed to Arthur and Barnaby. It was them. For a moment, The woman's eyes softened as she truly saw him, not as a shadow on the streets, but as the man who had saved her child. Arthur only offered a faint smile. Anyone would have done the same. But Leah knew that wasn't true. The next morning, Leah walked into Captain Morrison's office. "Captain, I want to talk about Arthur," she began. "He saved my life, and he just rescued a child. I think he deserves recognition." "And what exactly do you propose?" Morrison asked, raising a skeptical eyebrow. "Arthur is intelligent. He knows this city like no one else. He was a teacher," Leah argued. "What if we offer him a position as a community liaison? He could guide us in working with the homeless and help with delicate cases." Morrison leaned back, contemplating the bureaucratic hurdles. "I know," Leah affirmed, "but Arthur deserves a chance. We need people like him." After a long silence, Morrison nodded. "I'll see what I can do. #, the second chance." 2 weeks later, Leah found Arthur on their usual bench. "I have news," she said, beaming. "The department wants to offer you a job. Community liaison. Enough for a small apartment. And Barnaby can come with you." Arthur blinked in disbelief. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. You deserve it." "Do you really think I can do it?" he asked hesitantly. "It's been so long." Leah met his gaze. "I know you can. You have empathy and vision that can't be taught." Barnaby thumped his tail in agreement. Arthur finally smiled shyly. "Okay, we'll try." Arthur's transformation was gradual but steady. His eyes grew brighter, his confidence stronger. He worked closely with officers, his compassionate approach reshaping how the precinct treated the unhoused population. Barnaby became the beloved precinct mascot. 6 months in, Leah found him in his small office. Barnaby asleep on a cushioned dog bed. "Are you adjusting?" "Some days I feel like I'm dreaming," he confessed. "Waking up in a real home, working at a job that matters." Watching Barnaby sleep, I still half expect to wake under an awning. "You won't," Leah assured him. "You've earned this." He confessed he'd already paid it forward, helping a young man on the streets find shelter. "You're making a difference, Arthur, just as someone made a difference for you." He looked at her. "You made the difference." #, the unfolding love. As months passed, Leah's feelings for Arthur deepened into something undeniable. One day, she asked, "Have you thought about opening your heart to love again?" Arthur was quiet. "For a long time, I thought that part of me was gone. But now, I think love can appear when you least expect it." That afternoon, he received a call. A publisher, profoundly moved by the pages of his journal, wanted to discuss a book project. Months later, his book, The Unseen, Reflections from the City's Margins, was published to local and then regional acclaim. At the book launch, Arthur looked directly at Leah during his speech. "This book exists because of a woman who saw me when I was invisible. Leah Vance showed me everyone deserves a second chance." Later that night, walking the quiet streets with Barnaby, Leah stopped on the very corner where their story began. "Arthur, I've fallen in love with you." He looked at her tenderly. "I love you, too. I was afraid my feelings were just gratitude." "They're not," she whispered. "It's real." They kiss, Barnaby wagging his tail as if he understood. A year later, they married on that same street corner in a simple ceremony. Barnaby served as a proud ring bearer, the bands tied to a ribbon around his neck. Arthur published a second book, Second Chances, How Love Changes Our Lives, donating the proceeds to a nonprofit he founded for job and housing aid. Leah was promoted to captain, overseeing the outreach programs Arthur had inspired. 9 months later, their son Leo was born, with Barnaby guarding him from day one. Years passed. With Leo in school and Barnaby gray-muzzled, their family remained strong. Arthur directed his program, and Leah became chief. One Sunday, they returned to the corner where everything began. "If anyone had told me that rainy night I'd be here today, I'd never believed it," Arthur said. "And if anyone had told me I'd meet the love of my life on patrol, I wouldn't have believed it either," Leah replied. Stroking Barnaby's head, she whispered, "Thank you for bringing us together, for protecting us, for loving us." Barnaby's wise eyes gleamed. He knew he had a family and that he would never be alone.